Hi, I'm Zibby Owens, the creator and host of the award-winning podcast that you're listening to right now. Thank you so much, called Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. It is a daily podcast, 365 days a year, and each day we talk to an author about all of the things related to their career, their book, their life, and more in 30 minutes or less, because who has time? I am now an author myself, although I wasn't when I started this podcast, and you can get my new memoir, Bookends, a memoir of love, loss, and literature, wherever books are sold starting July 1st, and my children's book, Princess Charming. You can learn more about me at zibbyowens.com, but really you're here to learn more about the authors, and that is what we're going to do. Also, be sure to check out all the other podcasts in the Zcast Podcast Network. You can learn more at zcastnetwork.com and definitely check out those shows as well. Erin Napier is the author of The Lantern House, and actually my husband Kyle and I interviewed her together right before the summer. Erin is a designer, author, and entrepreneur. Along with her husband, Ben Napier, she is the co-host of HGTV's Hometown, co-author of Make Something Good Today, and founding co-owner of their stores, Laurel Mercantine Co. and Scotsman General Store and Woodshop. The Lantern House is her first book for children. She lives in Laurel, Mississippi, and she invites you to learn more at erinandben.co. Welcome, Erin. Thank you so much for coming on Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books to discuss The Lantern House.
Thank you for having me.
We also have a special guest host helping me out here today, which is my husband, Kyle
Owens.
Kyle Owens, yes, the one and only. And why don't you explain why you want to do this?
Well, I wanted to do this because I'm a huge fan of Erin and Ben, and I've been watching the show for quite some time. Zibby and I have really busy, crazy lives in production and everything that she's doing with the books and the podcast. And a lot of times at night, I just kind of want to veg out.
I get it.
And just watch a little, HGTV. And your husband, Ben, looks exactly like my best friend, Don.
Well, now I got to see him.
I know. And so I was flipping through the channels one night and I was like, oh my God, is it Don? And I went back and I landed on your show and I was like, oh my God, this couple, they're incredible. They're just so genuine and pure.
Oh, you're so nice.
And the show is amazing. And I love the whole idea of it. And so I just started watching it. And you know how HGTV is. They'll show 25 episodes in a row. Right, exactly. Before you know, it's 3 a.m. And so I just wound up watching a ton of it. And I always get super pumped at night if I turn it on and it's on. And then so when she mentioned that you were coming over, I was like, oh my God, that's wild.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish that Ben was here. We now have 2 kids. And before it was easy to let the grandparents take one. But now I want to have one of us home if possible. So he's with the girls. And it's the first time I've traveled and done things like this without him.
How does it feel?
It's weird. I'm a little bit naked.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always have someone to when I have I can't think of what to say, there's someone to step in and rescue me. Yeah. But it's
I relate to that.
Yeah.
I feel like I did my first event without Kyle, and I was I kept looking around for him. I was like, who's the guy who's going to be you got this? Or, all that.
Yeah, bring in the energy.
It's a whole new experience for me today.
Okay, so back to the book, or to the book in general. Okay, The Lantern House, by the way, gorgeous. So we were just talking about illustrators. Tell me how this book came to be and how Adam Trust, your illustrator, was intimately involved in the process. And by the way, this is just so gorgeous. This is not the most gorgeous book.
Thank you.
It is really nice.
I hope he's listening because he will just be tickled that you've mentioned him.
I'll say his name again. Adam Trust.
Adam Trust.
He's laughing too hard. He's too tickled. Relax.
His wife, Lily, is going to have a baby at any second. So that's why he didn't come to New York for this. But Adam is, we're neighbors. We've been friends for 15 years. And his art has become a little bit famous because of Hometown. He's been featured a lot, and just regionally, he has this huge following. And now it's not so regional. He's got really big, fancy clients in California who are commissioning artwork, and he's shipping it all over the world. And I'm so proud of him. It's so cool to be from a place like Laurel, Mississippi, and have a real art career. Because people told us growing up, you can't do that.
It's neat being from anywhere and having a real art career. It's hard these days.
It is. But apparently, when most people write a children's book, they are partnered with an illustrator by their publisher, which is something I did not know. I assume you come to your publisher with a whole package, a whole plan, an idea. And so Adam and I have just always, like, we would just text each other, had this idea for a children's book. Children's literature is really his life's ambition. That's been his goal his whole life, was to make a great children's book. And so he would text me if he ever thought of an idea. I would text him if I ever thought of an idea. And then this just, once we had children, you read children's books through a new perspective. You know, I haven't read children's books since I was a child. And now when you're an adult and you have your child in your lap and you're reading these stories and you find yourself getting really emotional, the best children's books, I think, are really written for the adult that's reading it. Like, it teaches some fundamental truth that you've forgotten about yourself or about the world that makes it seem so clear and so simple. And that's what I love about a great children's book. And anyway, I think I've probably rambled here.
No, not at all.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so working with Adam was the only way I pictured making a children's book, because without the illustration, I feel like the Lantern House doesn't really have an identity. And the only person who could make that house have the identity that I really wanted would be Adam. So
That's perfect.
I wrote Princess Charming not even knowing who she
that's
was.
fascinating.
I know.
But did you get to meet each other and, like,
I've never met her.
collaborate? Really?
Yeah, never met her. We've been on Zoom a few times.
Yeah.
And yeah, after about 6 months having the book, she just sent some illustrations, and I had to be like, okay, great. And I was lucky. I really loved it, but
Yeah.
I didn't have much say in it. I was like, could you make the brown bear a polar bear? And she was like, no.
Oh.
Yeah. But,
Well, so this was hilarious, is when we were, like, working out, you know, your publisher wants you to have a contract in place, and they had not done anything like this, where it was an author and illustrator we had a partnership. We have our own little, like, LLC together, and they're like, so we need in legal writing, what will happen if you guys disagree on something? And we're like, but we just won't. We just won't disagree. And they're like, we're really going to need some sort of legal.
Love that.
Yeah. So it's been funny to me that the way we just have handshake partnerships, you know, in a place like Laurel, Mississippi, and there's sirens. Those sound really intense.
It's the best way to do it.
I don't even hear the sirens.
You
myself.
don't even
No.
notice?
I'm from a small town as well, and I'm, like, in business with all my best friends, and it's always like that when lawyers get involved, and they're like, well, but what if? And we're always like, but we're not going to.
It's just going to be fine, guys.
Right.
Just trust. Yeah.
So the content, though, and the story behind this, which is so beautiful, all about home and everything, where did that come from? What was it like? You decided to partner with Adam, and then what?
Yeah. Well, so at this point, I've helped renovate about 90 houses all total. And the thing that I found they all have in common is the house existed before us, and it will exist after us. The house remains, no matter what the family does. Families move, families age, and new families begin. And the house is there for all of it. And I was thinking, you know, what stories, we literally uncover, you know, photographs inside walls. We find old newspaper clippings that were important for some reason to someone that were saved and then lost. We uncover these personal belongings all the time that tell a little of the story of the things these houses have seen. But I thought, you know, these houses that were standing in World War II, and Mallory, my best friend, lived in a house that was standing when the Titanic sank. And I think of things like, did they know anyone that died on the Titanic? Did they get bad news in that house? There's so many historic events that have happened in the history of a house's lifetime, and the people are just passing through. And I found that to be very interesting. And
wow, that's really
sort of
so
depressing.
Beautiful.
yeah, no,
I'm kidding. No, it's just the idea that, like, someone else will be sitting here.
Yeah.
I know. It's just sort of sad.
I mean, if you think about it, someone else was sitting here before you.
I know. I really can't stand it.
And probably before that person.
I actually just met that person. I forgot to even tell you at a party recently.
Really?
Yeah.
The person that used to sit here.
Maybe not right here, but she was like, I grew up in that house. And I was like, no way. How was that? What was that like? How crazy.
Right. You want to know the things that, like, happened in their lifetime when they were here, and what was it like for them living here. And for me, that just felt like such a fertile place to begin with a children's story. Helen asks a lot, our 4-year-old, she asks a lot of questions about, what do you do at work, Mommy? She's seen Hometown. And she knows that we help sad old houses feel happy again. That's the best way we can
That's really sweet.
Yeah, she'll see, you'll be driving through town and see a dilapidated house. She says, Mommy, is that going to be a hometown house? That's a sad old house. And I think, how can I write a story that helps her understand the evolution of a sad old house and how one time it was beautiful and then it wasn't, and then it can be beautiful again. But yeah, that sounds like some really philosophical way of discussing a very simple children's book, but
no, but that's what you were saying before. It's the stories, they mean a lot more than meets the eye. But this, this already does mean a lot.
I think that's always been kind of a struggle for me, being an HGTV personality, going on interviews where they ask, talk to us about trends for kitchens this year. Like, I have never heard a question that I find more revolting than something like that. Tell me the fads that we can expect to see in paint. And I'm just
I think one of the things that you do
I
so
don't
well
care. I don't know.
is that you really, I feel like you get to know the person, the couple that you're helping really well, and you sort of really, fit and decorate and design the home around that particular individual, and not, like you said, the trending fads of the moment.
Because I don't know what else matters.
Right.
Nothing else matters about a house. If it's not personal, then it's a failure to me. The best houses are very personal. Like, I can look at your house right now and tell so much about who you are as people. And that's a great house.
What do you think you know?
You are colorful.
Let's see if you're right.
You are collected and colorful and busy, and it looks like a very joyful house to live in. It looks like
it is, yeah.
I bet there is a lot. I bet it is noisy and wonderful. That's what your house looks like, and I love that.
Oh.
I don't.
There's a lot of life in it.
Yeah, I love houses that have a lot of life in them. And it's the hardest clients we ever have are when I get their initial survey. And my survey asks very, weird questions that seem unrelated, like, tell me about your favorite childhood memory.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about your favorite movies and why you love them. And when someone tells me their favorite TV show is I Love Lucy, that tells me something about who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
So in that survey, when they tell me things like, one time I had a homeowner who actually wrote, I don't want the house to look lived in. And I just felt like, I won't tell you what episode it was, but it was a very difficult one for me.
Really?
Favorite colors, white, gray. Okay. That's the hardest thing I've ever done. But when someone tells me, I'm obsessed with The Hobbit, we have traveled to New Zealand to see where they filmed The Lord of the Rings, I've always wanted a house that had like a round front door, things like that, oh my gosh, it's so easy to go from there and to create a house that becomes this experience in a world that's like your inner personality in an outward visual way. So those are the best houses, I think, that have tons of personality.
What was your house like growing up?
So good, so comfortable. It's like apple pie. If apple pie were a house, that's my mom's house. The kitchen walls were painted red. It always smelled like cobbler. Big fluffy white down comforters on the beds. Coming home from college, it just glowed like a lantern in the night. It was the best, pulling into the driveway when it's like almost Christmas time and it's cold outside and all the lamps are on in the house. Best feeling. They still live there. And if they ever move out of the house, it will kill me. It will kill me. I get very attached to houses. Very.
And so how did you get into this whole industry?
By accident. None of this was a plan. I wrote a journal about the best things that happened every day. I owned a wedding stationery company, and Ben and I renovated a 1925 Craftsman, our first house together, ourselves, and I documented it on my little journal. And Southern Living Weddings picked it up as a story about Southern newlyweds because I was in the wedding industry. And an HGTV executive named Lindsay Whitehorn, who is just like my New York City angel, just messaged out of the blue and said she saw it and would we be interested in doing TV. And we had absolutely never considered that. I mean, why would we? We live in Laurel, Mississippi. You can't have, it would never occur to you that I would like to have a TV show here. And so the first Skype we had with a production company, they said, tell us about your idea for your show. And we were like, Don't have one. You guys called us.
Right.
They were like, okay, well, what are you passionate about? And we're like, making our small town a place people want to live and being very proud of the good things you have right where you are and blooming where you're planted, basically. And anyway, it became a TV show.
Wow.
By accident. I thought surely the pilot won't get picked up. And then I thought surely season 1 won't get picked up. And surely it won't get renewed. And it just keeps getting renewed.
Wow.
And there's all these spin-off shows now.
Yeah.
We just watched one the other night, Zibby and I.
Because I had Jasmine
The
Roth on
Hometown
the podcast.
Takeover.
And she
Right.
was in
Jasmine is
Roth
such a
was on it.
sunshine.
Yeah.
Isn't she
With
just,
Ty Pennington.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Oh, did Ty come?
He did, yeah.
Ty and Jasmine were on
Yeah.
the podcast?
No, not Ty.
Okay, just Jasmine.
Just Jasmine was on my
Okay.
podcast. Yeah.
Jasmine is so sweet. She's wonderful. She is like a daisy in human form. Yeah, it's just an absolute honor and a dream to get to work for a company like HGTV, making a show that has been a positive, bright spot for people in a kind of dark time.
Yep.
The messages that we got during COVID, the ones that were most meaningful, we got messages from people who were in the hospital for one reason or another. One in particular that stands out, a woman was waiting to have a mastectomy and she was alone. And because you couldn't have visitors, and she was terrified. And she sent us a message to let us know that we kept her company when she was alone in the hospital and that we were something to take her mind off of it. And gosh, if there is anything more flattering than that, I don't know what it is. But yeah, that was a huge blessing to us that we got to be a comfort to people when they were isolated.
It's amazing.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that's exactly how I feel about your show. I feel like it's very comforting.
Thank you.
So talk to me about the process of this. You sat down, you just whipped it all out? Like, tell me about
I
it.
literally wrote it in 30 minutes.
Okay.
I mean, it was just a story that had been unorganized, but in my mind for years. And I just typed it out, a quick outline of it. It took literally less than 30 minutes. Adam's work took much longer. He had the hard job.
So beautiful.
He had to take the words I had written and then illustrate them. It's a hard job. An illustrator has a very hard job.
There's something just so timeless though about these illustrations. I mean, this book could be one of those classic books.
I really hope that it will be.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know how when you make your own sandwich, it's not as good? I feel so close to it, and it's so normal for me to see Adam's art from beginning to end, to read my words and the things that I say, that I've lost perspective. And we want so badly for this to be like a children's classic. And
It looks like that though.
You know?
Even the same font. Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
feel like this is the same font from The Little Engine That Could, maybe.
it's a
or-
World War II era font.
Yeah, right.
Called
Okay.
Payson. It is my favorite font. I use it for lots of branding for our companies too, because it's just so, it has no accent. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I like fonts that you read and it's just the clearest. There is no accent on it. But that's what great typefaces do. They tell you how to read it.
Wow, that's beautiful.
My background is in graphic design, and this is what I thought that I was going to do. I thought I was going to design books for a living. That's what I went to school to do. And that's what I'm going to do one day when I'm not on TV. That's the plan.
Children's books or any kind of books?
All books.
All books.
Books are my life. Yeah.
Love it.
I mean, we're looking for some designers at Zibby Books. I'm
Oh, yeah.
doing fiction and memoir. You know, could just get you in there typesetting
just
or whatever.
fit it right in.
No,
When
kidding.
I'm done with TV, that's my dream.
I feel like you also need to write about a story about some of those houses. Like you were just saying, that seems like a movie or a historical novel, right? About all the families and you like multiple timelines.
I'm also writing a book for grown-ups that'll come out next year.
Oh, well, there you go.
It's very much it's like this, but a deep dive. Yeah.
That's all you can say.
Yeah. I'll say that.
Very coy.
I'll
All
have
right.
to come back next year.
Come back next year.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now I'm curious
I know.
what it's all going to be about. Okay, so that's a lot of stuff. So you're writing an adult book. You have a children's book. You're on the show. You've got 2 little kids. People are always asking me like, well, how do you find time to do this? And I'm like, I don't know. I just do. Like, I don't know. Every day is crazy. Do you have a better answer to that question?
I say no to a lot. Just say no to a whole lot of things. Yeah.
You make that sound really easy.
I'm good at saying no. This has been one of my it's a personality type, I guess. But even in high school, I never suffered from peer pressure because I would just be like, no one can pressure me into doing something that I don't want to do. It's probably not a great character trait. But no, we just have to prioritize what's most important, our family. Like that's the number one. Ben and I and our marriage and our girls. Everything else has to be prioritized after that. And so if it takes away from them, then it's a no. And I mean, the only reason I'm here right now is because Ben is there. That was the only compromise that felt right to me. Yeah, that's the only.
But doesn't everything take time away from the girls and Ben? I mean, doesn't.
No, because we've made it such that we only do the show from 8 to 5. We will not film before that. We will not film after that. We are Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. We come home at lunch. We see them every day.
Wow,
and,
that's great.
If we travel, if it's more than 2 nights, the whole gang comes. If can be just one of us, and it's going to be 2 nights and I'm home. And that's what works for us. I mean, we're limited, we don't get to take great big extravagant trips right now, but it's just the season of life that we're in. I think the priority for me is just making them have this very normal and stable and happy childhood. And I want to be there for as much as possible. Because I never meant to be on TV. Like if it were left to me, I would probably be self-employed and spending all of my time with them. So I know TV is not forever, no matter how great it is. I mean, even Seinfeld ended, right?
My favorite show.
Yeah. And everything ends eventually. And so I think about, what kind of life am I setting us up for when that happens?
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you think was there anything your parents did that made you so grounded? Because I would like to try to incorporate that with my own parenting. So this is a very selfish question.
I don't know. I spend a lot of time with them still, and we've always been very close. I live 5 minutes away from them. I don't know if most people do. I mean, where do you?
I live 5 minutes from my parents.
Yeah. Do you see them a lot?
Surprisingly little, given that my dad is across the street. But yes, but he travels a lot for work too. So, okay. But yes, when they're in town, I see them a lot.
Yeah. I don't know. That's all I can think of is spend a lot of time with my parents.
Well, it sounds great because you have such clear parameters, right? We go away for this many days. This is what we do. Like, I think a lot of people get lost in the decision making because everything makes you question it again. Well, I don't know. Should I go to this? Should I do this? Should I do that? And if you don't have that framework, then
that's where you come in.
What do you mean?
A lot of debating.
Well, yeah, but now I'm thinking I should copy this framework situation.
This is a great situation.
Is it? Does it sound like I know what I'm doing?
It does.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're fooling us.
Because I definitely don't. I definitely don't know what I'm doing. So I'm glad it sounds that way.
Well, you're doing it with conviction.
I feel like you have it all figured out.
You do it with confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it feels right.
Wow.
Yeah.
And to have such a good perspective over, this is the part of my life in which I am forward facing, but there will be a part, maybe you're wrong. Maybe you'll always be in front of the TV. Maybe your little ones will be raising their own sad houses and renovating and all that.
Maybe so. But Helen was definitely very into decorating suddenly. Every single day now she likes to drag random objects from drawers all over the house, and she makes these art installations on our nightstands, and she says, I decorated for you.
Nice.
So my 7-year-old has done his room once, twice. He wants to redo it again.
Yeah.
We were looking at this other house, not here, but just for fun somewhere else. And I was like, what do you think about this? And he's like, well, it would be a good opportunity to get to redo a room.
He loves it. Yeah.
So, if you need a 7-year-old intern or something.
Lean into it.
It's actually, I was telling someone here, I was said, we're having some folks over from HGTV. And the first thing she said to me is, did you tell Graham?
Oh, yeah, I should have said something to him.
Because
Does he watch?
he
watches.
He loves it. Yeah. He just is so into
That's
home
so cool. There are not a lot of kids who love HGTV.
He loves it.
It's awesome.
Yeah. It's also great. And then we get to watch.
It's a good channel. If you're going to let your kids watch a TV channel.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's a safe one. It's a good one. They learn a lot.
Gets them off YouTube.
Yeah.
Will there be another Lantern House? Will there be a series? Will there be more?
I hope so.
Perhaps.
I hope so. I have a dream, of there being a Christmas Lantern House. I think that would be such an easy and fun and cool place to go in different special life occasions.
And Ben has a Christmas show, right? Coming up?
It was last Christmas.
It was last Christmas?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It could be a birthday one.
A
be
birthday
a great gift.
one? Yes.
Easy gift.
So many
new siblings.
Just think of all this. Yes, all the special occasions that happen in a house. You just write it all down. Send it to me. Those are all, dreams for me.
You'll have 25 new book ideas by the time you leave here today.
I'm looking at your book collection and thinking, what have I not read that I need to read? Right now I have...
What are you reading?
I've been reading One Italian Summer. I'm almost done with that.
Rebecca
But
Starr.
next on deck is The White Album by Joan Didion. Somehow I've read everything but that one, which I think is probably her most famous one. The Last Thing He Told Me is one a friend gave me that I haven't read yet. It's in
Laura Dave.
It's in my bag on this trip right now. So
Amazing.
that's what's coming up.
Laura and Rebecca were on the podcast. If you want the backstory of those books.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Well, maybe wait till you finish. I don't know. I can't remember.
Well, now
what
I do
can't remember if they gave it away. I'm sure. I don't know.
All right. Well,
when do you find time to read?
For 12 minutes before I fall asleep. It takes me a very long time to read a book, but it's the only way I can fall asleep. Yeah, I have to read for just a few minutes.
Me too.
Mm-hmm. How do you listen to a lot of them? Or do you read? You really read them?
She really reads them.
You're like walking around with a book in your hands.
I read a whole book yesterday.
I can vouch for her. We had a 2.5 hour drive and she read an entire book before we actually got to our destination.
God, you're so fast.
Yeah,
I can't read.
I am really fast.
I get car
I
sick.
can read everywhere. I can read like upside down. I read everywhere. I can read walking down the street. I mean,
to really put it in perspective, we were waiting to get off the airplane the other day and everybody, everyone stands up and everyone's got their luggage and taking it down. And we're waiting to go, and she just like pulls a book out of her bag and is like reading.
I was like, I've got a good 10 minutes here, with
170 people, and I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? Put the book away.
Well, I think that's the whole thing. You have like 10 minutes.
But you did. You read like 3 pages, and then you put the book away, and we got off the plane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was like, "There's
What's
3 pages
your favorite
down."
book? Do you have a favorite book?
I don't have a favorite, but
you don't.
I love memoir is my favorite genre, but I love fiction too. But
I feel like you love Danny Shapiro's book.
I do. I love Danny Shapiro.
If I was
she would be one of my favorite authors. Yeah,
that'd be the one you go with.
Zibby trivia question. That was what we gotta go with. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Slow motion.
That used to be my favorite book, and then I reread it recently. But the first time I read it, I was like in my 20s and kind of finding my way. And I don't know. Do you ever reread books?
Yeah. My favorite book I've read 3 times, I guess.
Which book is your favorite?
Love in the Time of Cholera.
Oh, yeah.
I love a romantic story that spans decades. I loved The Time Traveler's Wife for the same reason. And have you seen the movie About Time?
No.
Oh, gosh. Do that.
Have you? I've never even heard of it.
Rachel McAdams.
Okay.
And a British guy that I don't know.
Great.
It's one of the best movies
British
I've ever
guys.
seen.
Really?
No one has seen this movie, and it's very much a little like The Time Traveler's Wife, but with a happier ending.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So speaking of love and romance, I just quickly want to know, how did you and Ben meet?
Well, he was like my celebrity crush in college.
No.
Yeah.
Aww.
He was like the most popular guy on campus and was always dating cheerleaders. And I was like, the movie She's All That?
Yes.
That's how I felt. I was like the art girl. My hair was like an inch long because I wanted to look like Drew Barrymore in the 90s. And he was just this larger than life. I mean, he's 6'6" and he's 300 pounds. He's literally larger than everyone else. But he just like radiated kindness in a way that, like, I went to high school with popular guys who were just such jerks. Yeah. They were such jerks. And he was not that. He was so inclusive, and he made everyone feel like they were in his circle. And I just thought that was the greatest thing. I didn't even know him. I did not know him. He was like the president of every group on campus. And I would see him like leading these big fundraisers in the student union. And I would just say things like, gosh, I wish I just knew him.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah. And then I was the yearbook design editor because I designed books. And we were doing 10 feature stories on the most interesting people on campus. And we were like, who are these people going to be? We had the whole group together and everybody raised their hands. And 3 people were like, Ben Napier, that guy's got to be one of the feature stories. And I was like, I'll head up that. I can be there for those photos. And so that was really kind of the first time we met. And then 6 days later, he told me that he loved me and we were going to get married one day. And
oh my God. I love
we were inseparable from the day we met. And
that's so nice.
I know. I really miss him right now. Like, we're together 24 hours a day. And it is very strange for me to be here without him.
You could put him on FaceTime if you want, just have him sit here in the corner.
I know. I wish he was here.
You could have zoomed in.
Yeah. You could have zoomed in. Yeah, you could have. Oh, well, next time.
Yeah.
Okay, what advice would you have for aspiring authors?
I don't know. I wish I did. I think write, even when you don't feel like it. that's the hardest part, is to write when you're uninspired, but do it anyway. And then sometimes you have to fake it till you make it, and then the inspiration comes. Yeah, but with a children's book, this was just different. This was like something that had been in my mind for a very long time. And it doesn't take long to type out 40 sentences, you know, because that's really what a children's book amounts to, about 40 pages. And yeah, I guess I don't have very good advice.
I think that's good advice.
Write when you don't feel like it.
That's actually very good advice, because that's what's going to get the job done.
Yeah.
So there you go. Any last questions? That was my last one.
That was incredible. Really fantastic. Just keep, spreading all this love and joy around the world that you and Ben are doing. It's really beautiful.
It's a lot of fun.
We're
very,
amazing.
very lucky. We love getting work for HGTV and write books. I mean, how lucky are we? What a dream. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on.
This was really wonderful.
Oh, thanks for being here and bringing the peanut gallery
I know.
here.
Y'all don't know it, but my best
75
friends.
people in the room right now.
My best friends are all here with me.
So nice.
Love that.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Zibby Owens and at Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Also sign up for my newsletter at zibbyowens.com and sign up for my virtual book club and meet lots of authors on Zoom every other week. Thanks so much to Steve and Ryan at Texture Sound for the sound editing. And thank you to Morning Moon Productions for providing this fantastic intro and outro music.